Or do you want to share with us younger ones natural remedies that you have used in the past, or something that your mother or grandmother has passed down to you? I'll give you a moment to think. Because, Sister Dollars, back in the days, growing up, you would hear a lot about this kind of tea or that kind of tea. But now, even with my grandmother, she will share with us some things, like, leaf for life for asthma and things like that. But I don't really see it a lot where the grandmothers or the mothers are teaching their daughters or granddaughters or even grandsons what to use in different cases. So what you know from back then that have been passed down to you?
Well, like you have coal, you have the marigold. They grow up wild all over, yes. And you have
I just know marigold to keep out. I know that it's you plant it in your garden because it helps to keep away certain
not
insects.
That one. You have the one that run on the ground. Yes, it bloom a yellow flowers. Yeah, you boil it for cold.
Okay.
And you have also the name is not.
Oh, you're not remembering the name?
Yeah. But there are a lot of things, there that our parents and grandparents, told us about. They gave it to us when we were children.
Right,
yes.
Right. All right. And so we are thankful to those parents and grandparents who would have passed down the knowledge to us. Right? And, as a people who have been blessed with so much knowledge, we should be spreading, it's called the gospel. We should be spreading these things with others, right? Even the natural remedies, so that they can know what to do and even spread it as well. All right, so we are going to continue our look on the use of sugar. Right? And so our topic for today is sugary facts. Discard entirely of the bad, use moderately the good. All right, so what is sugar? According to Wikipedia, scientifically, sugar loosely refers to a number of carbohydrates such as monosaccharides, disaccharides, and oligosaccharides. Monosaccharides. The description of monosaccharides, that's fructose, galactose, and glucose, which are all simple sugars. Right? So monosaccharides are simple sugars: fructose, galactose, and glucose. Fructose, or fruit sugar, occurs naturally in fruit, some root vegetables, cane sugar, and honey, and is the sweetest of the sugars. It is one of the components of sucrose, or table sugar. It is used as a high fructose syrup, which is manufactured from hydrated cornstarch that has been processed to yield corn syrup, with enzymes then added to convert part of the glucose to fructose. So you can read up on it yourself to get a better grip of what is being said if you don't really get it. Sorry for the small writing. All right, galactose generally does not occur in the free use state, but is a constituent with glucose of the of the disaccharide lactose or milk sugar. It is less sweet than glucose. It is a component of the antigens found on the surface of red blood cells that determine blood groups. Right, sorry about that. Yes. All right. So glucose, we're looking at monosaccharides. Glucose occurs naturally in fruits and plant juices and is the primary product of photosynthesis. Starch is converted into glucose during digestion, and glucose is a form of sugar that is transported around the bodies of animals in the bloodstream. Glucose syrup is a liquid form of glucose that is widely used in the manufacture of foodstuff. So the other type of sugar is disaccharides. Lactose, maltose, and sucrose are all compound sugars, disaccharides. So disaccharides is a single form, and the monosaccharides are a single form of sugar, and the disaccharides are two monosaccharides together. They are formed by the combination of two monosaccharides molecules with the exclusion of a molecule of water. That's the science behind it. Lactose is the naturally occurring sugar found in animal and human milk. Lactose. Right. It is broken down when consumed into its constituent parts by the enzyme lactase during digestion. Children have this enzyme, but some adults no longer form it, and they are unable to digest lactose. That's why we have lactose intolerance. Right. You don't have the lactase to digest it. Maltose, formed during the germination of certain grains, the most notable being barley, which is converted into malt, the source of the sugar's name. It is less sweet than glucose, fructose, or sucrose. It is formed in the body during the digestion of starch by the enzymes amylase, and it is itself broken down during digestion by the enzyme maltase. Sucrose is found in the stem of sugarcane and roots of sugar beet. It also occurs naturally alongside fructose and glucose in other plants, in particular fruits and some roots such as carrots. When carbohydrates are eaten either as complex carbohydrates or disaccharides, they must be broken down during digestion to simple sugars before they can be used for energy. Only fiber is passed through the body nearly unchanged because the body doesn't have the enzymes to break it down. So whether you eat sugar in a simple form or a complex form, it is broken down into glucose, which is a simple sugar. After the simple sugars are formed in the small intestine, they are absorbed through the wall of the small intestine into the blood and are carried to the liver. In the liver, they are all changed to glucose. The glucose re-enters the blood and is readily available to all the body cells for the production of energy. A small amount of glucose is changed by the liver into a form of sugar called glycogen. Some of the glycogen is stored in the liver in case of a need for emergency energy by the body. The rest is stored in the muscles and used when they contract. These stores of glycogen will only last 12 to 24 hours, depending on the amount of physical activity. Any extra carbohydrate that is not used by the body cells or changed into glycogen is stored as fat. So if you eat a lot, just now we ate a lot of carbohydrates, right? The rice, the baked goods, the yam, that's carbohydrates. When you eat that, it breaks down into glucose, sugar. Now, we're sitting, what is going to happen? That glucose will not be used up efficiently. Right, not all of it, thanks. So some will be stored for later. And that is why sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you're able to go about doing certain work before even eating anything, right? That is because of the stored glycogen from the food that you would have eaten. But if you eat if you're consuming a lot of carbohydrates and you're not exercising, you live a life where you just sit down every day. For most persons, you see, they are fat. And it does not necessarily show in the, but you get fatty liver and all of those things. You may be slim, but you're still fat, right?
The fat she's mentioning is called visceral fat, which actually goes around your internal organs instead of underneath the skin.
Right. Well, not even more, but they are likely to have it as well. Sister Tassia? Well, they have tests, BMI, the body mass index can tell you if you're off.
Your body mass index have deciding factors, that's age, height, and weight. So if for your age at your height, you are at a certain number and you are skinny on the outside, it means it's being stored. You're just not seeing it.
Right, and they have tests where you do for the specifically for the intern, but you would have to be showing signs to really question those things, right? And so the main reason for carbohydrate is for what? energy. So if you're consuming a lot of carbohydrate and you're not being active, then you are putting yourself in illness risk. And this is coming from Back to Eden, page 462 to 472. Let me see who have a Back to Eden book. I encourage you to get, we should be investing. Instead of investing in clothes that are not durable, or following the fashion of the world, or wasting money buying food that is not good, we should invest in some of these books that can educate us in the way of the Lord. So the Back to Eden book is one of those good books. Right? Natural versus refined sugar and impacts on the body. The effect on the body and overall health depends on the type of sugar one is eating, either natural or refined. Natural sugar is found in whole unprocessed foods. These include fruit, vegetable, dairy, and some grains. They contain essential nutrients that keep the body healthy and help prevent disease. The natural sources of sugar are digested slower and help you feel full for longer. It also helps keep your metabolism stable. When sugar from fruit is taken in, the fiber that comes with it slows down the absorption rate of sugar. This is so because natural sugars found in whole food don't increase blood sugar levels as fast as refined sugar. Adding up to help slow down the absorption of the fruit even more is to pair your fruit with a meal, including a protein. So when you eat an apple versus a sweetie, because of the fiber and the other nutrients in the apple, it is slowly released, and so you don't get a quick spike. Remember that we say whatever you eat, it is whether you eat a sweet or a fruit, it is broken down into glucose, right? The body does not really say, oh, this is an apple or this is a sweet, but what makes a difference is what is in it, what is along with the sugar. Right, so as I said, the apple will give your blood sugar a quick spike and a quick fall. And also, the apple will give your blood sugar a steady rise, and it won't put it as high as the sweet, and it will give it a steady, a steady flow. And along with the sugar that you're getting from that, you're also getting added nutrients and minerals and all of that. But with the sweet now, you're getting a quick rise and a quick fall, plus it is depleting nutrients from your body because it does not have any real benefits in it. Refined sugar comes from sugar cane or sugar beets. Anybody know sugar beets? Sugar beets. All right, you can look it up when you go home. Which is highly processed to convert liquid into a refined crystallized form. Considered empty calories because they contain virtually no vitamins, minerals, protein, fat, fiber, or other beneficial compounds. And even if they do have, some of them may have iron, magnesium, and all of those things, but the small quantity that it has, it really amounts to nothing, right? Once the sugar passes through the stomach and reaches the small intestine, the body simply recognizes it as sugar. However, the impact it has on the body is determined by the nutritional content. as I was saying before, whether you eat the apple or the sweet, once it reaches the bloodstream, the body recognizes it as sugar. The body does not really know what it came from, but it's the effect that it has on the body that makes the difference. How much sugar is already in your blood will determine how the body uses the sugar. If you already have a lot of sugar in your system, then what you just digested will form either fat or glycogen, the storage form of glucose that's used for quick energy. So either you will be adding more fat or you will have some in reserve for energy that you will need. Right? And, that is why when we're hungry, we can still, go on a little further because we have energy stored up that we can call on.
Thank you. Could you elaborate a bit for me, please, on the practice of eating and going to bed? What happens to all those nutrients or food for the edification of us all?
Well, we're advised not to, we're counseled not to, and, the food will not be digested properly, and it will also keep us awake, right? It's going to keep us awake because while our eyes are closed, the digestive system is still operating, so it disturbs sleep. And all of that food is not being digested properly. It's going to cause fermentation and lead up to other things. And, when your Sister White counsels us about good posture, so when we're eating, we should have good posture so that the food can go down properly. So when you eat and you lay down, I do not remember exactly what. Right, the indigestion, but there's something that, it becomes smaller or it closes down so the food cannot digest properly as how it should when you lay down. And that's why we should not lay down, whether day or night, right after eating.
Ability to, how it affects the brain, the ability to discern spiritual things, to be alert, etc., etc. I'd really like you to speak on that for me.
It clogs the brain. If our food is not being digested properly, then we cannot think properly, because the digestive system is so closely related to the brain, to our mind. And that's why when we're hungry, we can't think straight. And that's why Sister White said we must be able to endure weariness, hunger, and delay in the time of trouble. Because when we are hungry, we can't make good judgment, because we just think of Esau when he was hungry. Right, so. We can have indigestion, colon cancer. All of those things that we do to our system can lead to colon cancer. All right, go ahead, next one.
What is the sugar fat?
Sugar fat? The fat? Facts. The truth about sugar. All right. Consuming sugar produces effects similar to that of cocaine, altering mood, possibly through its ability to induce reward and pleasure, leading to the seeking out of sugar. this is coming from theguardian.com. They write, citing rodent studies which show that sweetness is preferred even over cocaine, and that mice can experience sugar withdrawal. You know, when mice and humans are, what would you call it? They test on mice to determine its effects on humans. Speaking to The Guardian, the gentleman said that the consumption of sugar was a grave concern. In animals, it is actually more addictive than even cocaine. So sugar is pretty much probably the most consumed addictive substance around the world, and it is wreaking havoc on our health.
Suppose the sugar level drop, you can take a little of the sugar?
You can eat a fruit, or you can exercise.
Suppose the fruit is not available.
Right.
Suppose when we're at school, it's amateur.
If you do not have anything, as I said, the exercise.
But we have class. We have class. You're going to be in class.
Your blood sugar can fall to a point where you're unconscious. You block out. Maybe he's referring to something to that effect. If your blood sugar falls to that low, taking a little sugar, would that be okay? Maybe that's what he's asking.
All right.
Because if that blood sugar falls low, you need to get it back up. And I wouldn't even want to use quickly, but for the want of a better word. You know, because sometimes we do it too quickly and it even affects the person. But what do we do?
All right. There are emergency situations where we are counseled to make the best of what we have available at the time, at the moment. So in a situation like that, if the sugar is available, then you make the best of use, but you don't make it a habit. Because there was a gentleman who had a child in Sister White's time. He was sick, the child was sick, and I don't remember I can't remember. It's a drug. It's a drug, and because Sister White would have counseled not to use it, and the gentleman did not use it, and the child died, and then afterwards he asked her if he should have used it, and she said yes, because that was what was available at the time. And just as if we are in an emergency, and we happen to go to the hospital, there are instances where we will have to use certain things, but then when we come out, you know, we do not continue on these things. So we do not promote the use of drugs, or the use of sugar, but there are instances in emergency.
On the account of Jamaicans, you know, back in the day, you know, when a child run and drop, they say, you know, give him some sugar and water for drink. Is there anything behind that, or are they just speaking out of ignorance and tradition?
Well, as I said, the sugar, it gives you this boost. It revives. It stimulates. That's what sugar does, right? It stimulates. But we should not practice that, because that is becoming dependent upon that. That is using that continually, right? I'm talking to him about a case of an emergency where he has nothing. And let us not forget to pray. Sometimes we're looking around for everything that we can use, but praying, and then God will show us what to use. Because sometimes if we just pray, God will send somebody with what? Because he tells us not to use these things. So if we pray, he can send somebody to our rescue. A boost of energy. A quick boost of. All right, Brother Barrett.
Yeah, yes, Sister Kaydian. Right. I think, as Anthony said, the answer was a good one in relation to the sugar. What we have to remember is that there can be different extremes in the message. The health message is a very nuanced one. And we have to be careful of extremes. When I say extremes, I don't mean that we don't consult God in when we think things are bad and we can't maybe see an alternative. But there are times when things that are not prohibited by Scripture, such as unclean, and I think the headlines, the topic says it well. You eliminate all the things that the Bible would have as unclean, and that which is not unclean. Then you have some that is not good and some that is better, right? And therefore you try as best as possible to use that which is better at all times. But find yourself in circumstances where you don't have that which is better, and all that you have is that which is good. And there's no other alternative that you can put your finger on at the same time. Then you use it moderately, just to recover. The other extreme is that you don't use it even on your dying bed. Just like maybe like Jehovah's Witnesses, they have this belief that taking blood is drinking blood. And I don't know to what extent, I don't know how often this happens, but if they're on their dying bed, they're not going to take any blood because they say that it is eating blood, which it is not. So in circumstances where you have that which is, then you can't get that which is better, then you use it moderately. And this is why a lot of times when you try to speak with persons about the health message, persons who don't understand, one of the things they ask you is, do you still go to the hospital? Because they're saying, okay, you are talking about living healthy. Do you go to the hospital? What if you're meeting an accident? Can your health remedies take care of you if you meet in a car accident and you're all broken up and busted up and so forth? These are the things they throw at you. And sometimes it's because, I don't know if it is how we present the message, but in circumstances like those, yeah, you go to the hospital and you do what they do at the hospital. You don't have much control over that. But once you come out and so forth, then you go back to the health message as we know it. So there has to be that balance. Otherwise, you could lose persons on both sides. And yeah, I just wanted to say that.
All right, Sister Tasia. You still wanted to make a point? Okay. The use of refined sugar is a contributing factor to inflammation. So reduce and remove the sugar, and you should see changes. You won't be feeling so much pain. Obesity, tooth decay, diabetes, heart disease, acne, depression. Why it causes depression? Anybody know why it causes depression? Right. It has that addictive power that they are even saying it's more addictive than cocaine. So it gives you a quick high, quick fall, and then you have to continue. You become addictive to it. And then when you don't get it, right, you have a sweet tooth and you must fulfill it. Right. It increases risk and spread of cancer. It lack of energy. It gives you a lack of energy. So even though it gives you that boost, it drains you because it gives you a very low. And then every time the pancreas is being put under pressure until it just fed up. It fed up, and then you have diabetes or you have pancreatic cancer or something, right? Fatty liver, as we mentioned before, among other ailments. Spirit of prophecy quotations, and there are more, but I took out the one that speaks to sugar alone. It is well to leave sugar out of the crackers that are made. Some enjoy best the sweetest crackers, but these are an injury to the digestive organs. 13 MR 173. Your father and I have dropped milk, cream, butter, sugar, meat entirely since we came to California. We are far clearer in mind and far better in body. We live very plainly. 14 MR. Sugar is not good for the stomach. It causes fermentation, and this clouds the brain and brings peevishness into the disposition. As we read before, it brings lack of energy, lethargy, and that is what the world has listed of some of the contributors that sugar, some of the things sugar contributes to, right? Sugar is not good for the stomach. It causes fermentation, and this clouds the brain and brings peevishness into the system. Mind, Character, and Personality, Book 2. Sugar clogs the system. It hinders the work of the living machinery. Counsel and Diet, page 327. Why do you use refined sugar? Do you really need it? Sister Christine, why do you use refined sugar? No, why do you use it? Not we, you.
I don't use much when I do.
Why? When you use it, why?
Why? To add tastes, to make my food more tasteful.
Do you need it?
I would say yes.
Why?
Because I burn a lot of energy, and it gives energy instantly.
All right.
So it just adds more to the food.
Sister Danique, tell me some form of carbohydrate. She said she needs the sugar for energy. Tell me some form of carbohydrate. No, Sister Danique.
Yam.
Mm-hmm.
Bread. Potato.
Right.
Crackers.
You can give her about the mic now.
Irish.
Thank you. Sister Christine, why do you use sugar?
I use more than one type of sweeteners. I use sugar and
for energy.
Honey. For energy, to give some taste to whatever it is that I might need it. And I don't use a lot, and I don't use it all the time.
All right, but you do not need sugar for energy. As she listed just now, you have different carbohydrates. And remember, carbohydrates on a whole are used for energy. So you do not need refined sugar.
Which one releases it faster?
Releases it fast, but you don't need a fast relief of sugar in your system.
Sometimes the sugar level gets very low. What will be the fastest way to get some in?
If your diet is correct, you don't need that fast release of energy, because when you have a fast release of energy, it is putting pressure on your pancreas. Because when it gets that fast rate, then it has to release insulin. When the insulin release, it's a battle between the insulin and the glycogen to balance it back out, to bring it back to that level. So you don't need a quick release of energy. If your energy level is down, that means your iron level probably is down. So you need to fix your iron so you have energy. Right? And exercise can give us energy.
Yes.
Because it helps to bring in fresh oxygen to circulate the blood and give you that. A cold bath can give you energy.
Quite so. Question. How... Oh boy, the question just went to my mind. Relating to someone I know. It just passed through the brain.
Quickly.
So for glucose, when you do sports, and like you just finished the race, they give you glucose. So is it good for you? Does it damage any organs?
I'm not sure if it damages any organs, Brother Garden.
As he said, if you just finished running a race, you have expended some energy in a short space of time.
Coconut water?
They don't give coconut water after the race. They don't give that. They give you some glucose, which is the simplest form and the quickest way of replenishing that which was lost, or a portion of that which was lost. But they don't give jelly water on the tracks.
How about fruit juice? Because when the fruit...
They don't give that on the tracks.
I know they don't, but if we were to be in these races, as a mother, you would bring your fruit juice so your son could drink it, but we are not in these races. But, I mean...
Another thing, though, if that athlete is, properly hydrated, because most of the time, the depletion of the glucose that is stored in the race, if you are properly hydrated, you shouldn't be that burnt out after the race. With proper training also. All right? So you have persons who run and they finish their race and they're fine. No glucose, no nothing.
Right. So probably the diet and the training and all of that. But we're not going to stress too much on this. The stressing is just to advise persons who are in these, All right. Go ahead.
Yes. So, Sister Kaydian, I know what you're saying. But from this platform, we have to make it extremely very clear that we do not encourage participation in sporting activities. I'm saying it. I know.
I did say it.
Eh?
I did say it, but emphasize it.
No. I know you say it, but our conversation has to be very careful when it comes on to something that we should not be at this stage be participating in. Now, I understand the question, and I understand the youthfulness from which it comes, but our first response should be that we do not participate in sporting activities. That should be the first one. So we understand that if it is that we are currently participating in sporting activities, then we should no longer do that at school. We should no longer do that. And therefore, if we no longer do that, then we would not have the need to be considering taking glucose at the end of such a race. That's the first thing. We have to make that clear. Having said that, then if somebody again is in a situation where let's use country living preparation, right? And we are doing a lot of activities, clearing land and so forth. You drain your energies just like if somebody who is running sport. So what do? You have to make sure that you have that which to replenish your strength. And generally speaking, even to Sister Christine's question that she asked, if we as far as possible practice a healthy diet, then most of these issues don't arise. That's the first answer to these little questions. If we practice healthy diet, healthy eating and so forth, these little issues does not arise, where your sugar levels are low and so forth. So just want to make that very clear, that these little issues, healthy eating practices will eliminate all these issues.
Right. All right. Sugar's role in the body. Carbohydrates are fuels that provide the body with energy. The body breaks down food containing carbohydrates into glucose, which can then enter the bloodstream. Some glucose is essential for the brain, central nervous system, and red blood cells to function properly. The body has a natural feedback mechanism by which high glucose levels lead to increased insulin production, and low levels lead to decreased levels of this hormone. The body requires healthy insulin levels to function properly. If there is too little insulin or it no longer functions properly, a person can develop diabetes. According to the American Heart Association, the body does not need any added sugar to function healthily. According to the American Heart Association, the body does not need any added sugar to function healthily. So we do not need added sugar, right? Remember, sugars are found in the food that we eat naturally. Think and make a list of all the things we put sugar in. Do we really have to use it? And one of the first things that Sister Christine mentioned, why she used sugar, was for what? Taste. And should we be living for taste? When we're eating, what is the first thing we should consult? What is the first question we should ask when we are going to eat something? Is it healthy? Is it in accordance with what God would have me eat? Right? Right. Are we gratifying appetite or securing health? So does taste gratify appetite or health? Right. It is not saying that we should eat taste bad food, right? Should our food have taste? Right. Sister White says our food should have taste, but we do not consult appetite first. We consult health, and then we consult taste. So our food should be healthy and appetizing, tasty. Quickly.
But when you come off the foods that you used to eat before and you start eating the ones that you should, they don't really taste so good enough.
Right, because our appetite has been perverted. All right, for Michaela has never used, added sugar, other than in bread and stuff like that. She have never used. So when I make the porridge, it's like nothing to her. It may taste a little fresh to me, but it doesn't taste any way to her because she is not used to the sweetness that my appetite has been spoiled by. So it is because we are used to that thing, right? But our appetite can be converted. It's hard, but we have to make up our mind and know how to cook. Because, as I said, when I make the porridge, it is not, when something fresh and it make you nauseous, it's not fresh like that. But it is not sweet. It still have taste to it. So I appreciate it because I put other stuff in it as well that, it's not a bland thing. So if we learn to cook and learn how to make palatable food, as Sister White used the word palatable, then we won't have any desire for these things. Once upon a time, we used to still buy the sugar because we love lemonade, But after a time, we say that lemonade, and somebody said he asked her brother, "You're going to let fish keep you out of heaven? Why are you so loyal to a piece of fish that has not done anything for you?" So we finished with the sugar because we were trying to abide by the counsel and realize that you can still squeeze the lemon in the water and drink it like that. And it's medicine, and you can use it when you need it.
Sister Stewart just make mention of moving from consuming things that are not so good to the better ones. What are your advice as the persons trying to make that transition? Should they
we have some tips coming up, so we can share the tips.
Okay, another thing, we tend to, or what I'm getting is that we are associating taste as something not so good. Your food can be healthy and tasty.
But we did emphasize that it's not supposed to taste bad. Sister White used the word palatable.
She does use the word taste too.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I think she made mention of the food being tasty.
Right. So
because we are serving children.
Right. And it should be something that they love, especially when it comes to the Sabbath. So it's not saying that food should not taste good.
Right. And we should never have the idea that if it tastes good, it might not be healthy. No.
No, we're talking about the fact that we use these things because we want it to taste good. Because our appetite has been perverted, it doesn't taste good. Because it doesn't have the pepper, the sugar, the salt, it doesn't, the nutmeg, the cinnamon, it don't taste good. Because our appetites are not stimulated, we don't get the feel good, it does not taste good. And that's where we all right, brother Stuart.
Yeah, even is most times during cooking it might just take a little research or a little studying to find out, because for instance for sugar, as we were discussing a couple weeks ago, cane juice and molasses, those are the first two forms before sugar. Cane juice can be used when making stuff like porridge. You use the cane juice, you flavor it just like how you flavor the water, to then mix the mixture to put the stuff in to make the porridge, and it would already be sweetened. You can also use, for fruit juice, instead of stretching it out with water, you'd make smaller amount, so you get the sugar from the fruit. In cooking food, you just have to study the herbs, because everything that they make for seasoning now comes first naturally from herbs that they are now trying to use formulas to make. So we could, instead of worrying, so you would get the same taste. For instance, even with curry, instead of using the curry that they make, you use a natural turmeric. Still give you the color, but it give you a nicer flavor. There's a thing called anise. A lot of people who was used to that nice taste. The anise gives you that nice taste, which tastes like MSG, but it's actually a natural herb that you can use. You have chives, onions, which when you combine them, French thyme, oregano, cilantro, all those herbs combined together does give you the flavor that you are looking for.
Thanks. And another thing is that we're trying to acquire the taste of the world. Not everything we should acquire the taste of the world. So, my husband said that they had wham in Cayman and it tasted, person said it tastes similar to ham. Why would we want something that tastes similar to what we are forbidden to eat? So not everything we should try to get that taste, right? Striking the balance. Added sugar, be it honey or refined crystallized, is not necessary for health. Though honey is healthier, an overuse of it can result in negative effects. Let me read that again. Added sugar, be it honey or refined crystallized sugar, is not necessary for health. Though honey is healthier, an overuse of it can result in negative effects. What does the Bible say about honey? Anybody know what the Bible says about honey? Anybody else?
Flowing with milk and honey.
Oh, praise the Lord.
Amen.
All right. Proverbs 24, verse 13. My son, eat thou honey, because it is good, and the honeycomb, which is sweet to thy taste. Proverbs 25, verse 16. Hast thou found honey? Eat so as much as is sufficient for thee, lest thou be filled therewith and vomit it. So moderation, temperance. So honey is good, but we should be very moderate in using honey, in abusing the use of honey, though it is a natural sugar, right? Because as was said the last time, that honey has a higher level on the glycemic index level, right, than the crystallized sugar. It is not good to eat much honey, so to seek one's glory is not glory. Where is refined sugar found? Some names for refined sugar: corn sweetener, ethyl maltol, corn syrup, dextrose, fructose, fruit juice concentrate, glucose, high fructose corn syrup, invert sugar, lactose, maltose, malt syrup, raw sugar, sucrose, sugar syrup, cane sugar. So sometimes you may take up the package and it does not say sugar in the ingredients, but you see something else. And for person who still use manufactured products, it is better to buy things that have the plain brown sugar than to buy those that have some other name, because these are usually synthetic. Most of them are synthetic, and those are worse than the regular sugar. And those sugar that say low sugar, don't buy anything that say low sugar or diet free. Those are worse than the actual thing. All right, if it says sugar-free, you notice that it still have a sweetish taste. You ever buy anything that says sugar-free and it's bland, it's fresh? It still have a form of sugar in it. All right? Soda, vitamin water, energy drinks, sport drinks, breakfast cereals, granola bars, sweet and baked goods such as bread. I know bread have sugar in there, right? because they have to use sugar to activate what? The yeast, right? Canned items such as corn, especially the sweet corn, right? They have sugar in there. Just look at the ingredients. Beans, spreads and condiments such as peanut butter, ketchup, barbecue sauce. Anybody used to make peanut butter when going to school? Who said yes? Brother Mark, tell them how peanut butter was made back in school days.
All right, as far as I can remember, you normally buy the peanuts in the bag. So we crush it out and just rub it maybe for the entire day until it gets creamy. That's it.
Right.
Maybe just add in a little water. Yeah.
You didn't add any water, Brother Mark. So you just keep rubbing it. So if you have a food processor, you can do the same, or just give the children something to do. Let them rub it out. Right? Diet foods such as low-fat or fat-free, sugar-free, and some medication. You know that some medication have sugar in it, right? Right. Healthy substitutions. If you must use added sugar, use those that are in its unprocessed form, such as sweet fruits, such as your banana, your mangoes. So you can make a porridge and you can cut up these in it. Right? Dried fruit, like raisins, dates. And you have to check the dates and the raisins because I realize that they are using sugar on some of them to preserve it. Honey, maple syrup. Note, because added sugar is not necessary, you do not have to go out of your means to purchase what you cannot afford. So you don't need honey. So if you cannot afford honey, do not go out of your way to try and buy honey. Right? Tips to overcome the use of refined sugar. Pray and ask God for the conviction regarding His counsels for health. Challenge yourself prayerfully. Stop using for a day, then a week, then a month until you gain the victory. Cut back on the amount you usually use until you eliminate the use of it completely. So if you used to use sugar in every meal, morning, noon, and night, evening, cut back. If you used to use 2 tablespoons, cut down, right? If you used to use it in your rice and peas, try it without it. Experiment with healthier substitutions. So if you can afford honey, try the honey. Try the fruits. Try the nuts and the seeds and the dry fruits. Try different things. Try, right. Purpose not to use where you can do without it. So as I said, if you used to use it in rice and peas, you don't need, yes, I don't know if it's a country thing, but sugar in rice and peas was a must back then. Yes. Right, so if you used to use it in certain places, that is definitely not necessary. Try not to use it. All right, drink more water rather than juices. Read labels carefully. Avoid buying certain foods and aim to make all your food from scratch. So if you decide not to use sugar anymore, one of the things that you will have to be more prepared to do is to stop buying processed food, because sugar is in almost everything that is manufactured.
And and also milk is also in everything. When I was buying coconut powder, for some reason I started reading the ingredients in it. I don't know why, because I was like, this is coconut powder. What else is in it, right? And I did that, and I've never been so upset in my life that in coconut powder there is milk. And then all of them except one, and it's a Grace one, and on it, and it says glucose and dairy free?
Gluten.
Why gluten and dairy free? Why do you need dairy free on coconut powder?
This was my exact.
I was so upset.
This was my exact response when I went in the supermarket and saw gluten-free and dairy-free. I was wondering, but it's coconut powder I was using all this time. It's coconut milk. Not realizing that I was still consuming milk after I said that I stopped consuming milk. You understand what I'm saying? So we really have to. We cannot trust the system at a time like this with what we put in our bodies. And so we have to become more health conscious. Persons may see it as paranoid or extreme, but we have to take our health to another level. Right? All right, quick points.
When cooking, especially your beans, you might think that water might be a no-no, but water and salt with your seasoning help to soak the seasoning into the bean, which gives it flavor, or any peas, beans, legumes, stuff like that.
Right. When we have our upcoming cooking class, we will look into some of these cooking practices. All right. Thanks, Brother Stuart. And be mindful of who you eat from and question what is in the food presented to you. So as we become more health conscious, we cannot eat from everybody, not even our family members. We love them dearly, but we have to love God more and his temple that he has given unto us, right? So we have to be a bit more cautious. A question at the back.
I was saying that when that honey is, we can't eat a lot of honey at one time because then we will vomit.
That's right. We cannot eat a lot of honey at once. Thank you, Ms. Grant. Sister Christine, quickly.
MSG is also being placed in. MSG is being placed in a lot of the substances like milk products and milk substitutes. And also, I would like you to get a list of all the names for MSG because they vary.
All right, we'll look at different ingredients later on, but one of the things we have to start putting in our mind that we're going to cut off manufactured products. That's the only way we can overcome. So we need not worry about the different names so much, but we need to start preparing our own food. The most we will be buying, even at a time like this, is raw material, like peas and oats and stuff like those. As we transition to where it is what we plant that we will have to use. Right. All right. Whole food is better than refined food. Genesis 1:29, and God said, "Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat." So this is where we are transitioning to where the food that we consume will be as God has provided it. Right? We are going back to Eden. So the factory, the dependence upon the factories, the manufacturing plants, we have to set our mind to move away from that and go back to the tree. All right, let me just run through this quickly. Casual drinking of tea. Casual drinking of tea. Psalms 104, verse 14. He causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth. Herbs are used to eliminate, repair, sustain, and build. So we should not casually drink tea. That's for a reason. That's for a reason.
Sorry. So I can drink tea for that?
That's a condition.
Also, what would you call casual then?
Just get up and drink tea. Or every day you get up and drink the same kind of tea for an extended period of time.
Like when they encourage to drink tea every morning, that would be casual? Oh.
So herbs are used to eliminate, repair, sustain, and build. The herbs are made up of different properties and constituents and must be taken intelligently. Excessive use of herbal teas can affect the liver and cause other adverse effects. Herbal tea drinking tips. Know the properties of the herb that you are drinking. Know your body. Anybody understand know your body? Brother Rashim, is there any herb that you cannot drink? Or that you should not drink?
No, there are no restrictions on herbs. There are things I cannot eat,
No, I'm talking about the herbs. You sure?
Not that I know of.
All right. Brother Mark, is there any herbs that you cannot drink?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there is. Marijuana.
All right. All right. All right, so you should know your body. I kind of lose my thought. Use those that are good for medicine as medicine. Anybody understand what I'm saying? You want to expound on what I'm saying? Like what? Like, tell me a herb that you wouldn't get up and drink every day.
Well, we have a tendency to drink mint every morning as
mint?
tea. Like, mint.
Okay.
Peppermint.
Would you get up and drink Cersei every day? What is Cersei good for?
Cleansing.
One of the most common thing is for cleansing. It can be used as a laxative, so you wouldn't want to get up every day to drink Cersei.
But persons do that because they like it.
Yeah, but that's what we are trying to establish, that we should not just drink it casually, especially there's... All right, say for instance, if I have low blood pressure, I cannot get up every day and drink hibiscus tea, because hibiscus tea lowers your pressure and it can lower it drastically. Cannot get up every day and drink garlic tea, because then you will black out. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to drink the teas intelligently. You have to also know your body and your condition. If you drink a certain tea and it does not work with you, you may cause damage to yourself. So that is what we're trying to establish, not to drink tea casually. Especially if you do not know the properties. Especially if nothing is wrong with you, or you're not building up, or you're not trying to repair something.
Question.
About those persons who are in the habit of drinking a tea each morning, a warm tea, and trying to get away from it, but find that you're having gas problem, you're having this bloating and all of that if you don't take it. Because over the years, it's something that you're used to, and you're trying to move away from it, and you find that you're having this bloating. So
warm water with lemon or lime.
Work with that.
Here he's saying it, warm water and lemon or lime. Sister White advised us to drink, she said, I think she said up to a quart or something like that of warm water in the morning. And even with the lemon. So it's not that you can't take something warm in the morning, but you don't, and we do not want to become dependent upon any herb. So even though the herbs are good for us, we do not want to become dependent upon them. So if I don't drink some mint tea or some rosemary, I can't go through the day. That's the same thing as if you can't drink coffee. So it's like another addiction, but a healthier one. Right, and as I said, the herbs, as we say, for elimination, repairing, sustaining, and building. So you have different herbs that can do different things according to each person. Question? Yeah.
Just touching the point where Sister Ruth talked about the person using the Cersei. Some of the time we use it without not knowing the amount. So with Cersei, I think the most leaves they need about 3 to 4. And some of the times, I remember back in the country, it's a handful of a dry one, you roll it up, almost can make a cut off, you put on your head. We boil, and then the Cersei tea is not green, it is black.
Right.
And that is too much.
And it
way
puts
too much.
pressure on the liver as well. And as I said, it can cause adverse effects. Right? Sister Christine, quickly.
Speak a little on the advantages of having our meals at a specific time every day, please, and the adverse effect of doing otherwise.
All right, we'll look at the meals. We'll look at proper eating method. Quickly go through this because Brother Barrett is coming up next. Use those that are nourishment as such. Use those that are for maintenance accordingly. Do not overuse any herb. Stop using after a few days depending on the type of herb and your health condition. So if you are taking something for headache, take it for the duration and then ease. Because one of the things the body does, it gets used to herbs, and then it may not be as effective, or an overuse of a particular herb can actually cause damage to the body. It causes adverse effects. Added sugar to herbal teas lessen its potency. Do not become dependent upon herbs, but make faithful efforts to obey the health laws to attain perfect health. So don't say, oh, God give us the herbs for the healing of the nation. If you are healed by them, then you should stop using them. All right, so don't spend our lives living on herbs. As I said, it is the same as in living on medication for the rest of our lives. We should be healed if we're using these herbs.
For the tea in the morning, what you could do is like when she just wake up, before brushing teeth, you could drink a glass of water. That would help to flush the system, which would prevent you from feeling nauseous. So
Yes,
water could be the result for that.
Right, just squeeze the lemon in it or just drink it like that if they can. And the lemon is actually detoxifying and also waking up the system as well. All right, looking at an example of, who know colic mint? All right, so the other names, color mint, colon mint. I'm just looking at the properties, the two other properties of color mint is sedative and stimulant. What is a sedative? And what is a stimulant? And as we said, that you have to know your body. So you don't want to be using something for one reason and it is having the adverse effect, because it can work both ways. And so it would depend upon the body, because, you know, something may work for me and it doesn't work for you, right? Some of the benefits of peppermint: it corrects digestive issues, boosts immune system, relieves stress, prevent bad breath, helps with weight loss, reduce onset of herpes, eases muscular fatigue and pain, fight asthma symptoms, lessen chest congestion and coughing, cures migraines, nausea, vomiting. So if you look at all of this and you don't have any of these, would it really make sense to be drinking mint tea daily? Remember, we don't consult teas first, right? So I'm not sure if you get the point.
So can you drink it once in a while for prevention?
Right, so once in a while is okay, but as we say, casually. Casually means something that you do daily or often or regular. Right? So, right. So, all right, quick points and then we wrap up. All right. Again, it goes back to knowing your body, and also, right, garlic, you know, can lower your pressure and adverse effects on other things. Right, and I missed what I was going to say. Right, it lowers your blood pressure. And I was saying that, remember, some of these things, they have the properties of building and maintaining and sustaining. So you have to take them in that regard, but don't take them continually. So if you want to build your immune system, you say, okay, I'm going to take some garlic for a week. And then you ease off it. If you feel sluggish in your body or whatever, and you think that the garlic can help you, then after that week's rest, you can take it for probably a few more days, because you're trying to build or repair or maintain, but not every day, casually. Right. And the last point, and then we wrap up.
So, the mint tea, I think it said that it's good for bad breath. Suppose a person has bad breath, can they drink it on a regular basis?
You would have to find out the reason for the bad breath, because bad breath can start from down in the belly. Probably something wrong in the belly. So you have to look at the different factors. All right. Water can be used in many ways to relieve suffering. Draughts of clear hot water taken before eating, half quart or more or less, will never do any harm, but rather be protective of good. Letter 35. So that's the water. We don't necessarily have to drink tea every time we feel tea-ish. All right, 1 Corinthians 9, verse 25. And every man that striveth for the master is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. Thank you for your participation, and I pray that we have grasped something and that we will diligently, prayerfully apply it to our lives. Let us pray. Heavenly Father and our wonderful God, once more we want to give you thanks for having spent some time with us and for sharing your truth with us. I pray that we will now go forward to live what is truth and to share it with others. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right, we ask you to remain seated as we take a singing break. Feel free to stand just to change your posture. We'll go to song number 570, Not I But Christ, in keeping with what we had just learned from our medical missionary leader. We do things not to glorify self, but to give honor and glory to God. Not I, but Christ, be honored, loved, exalted. We'll sing verse 1, 2, and